If you're into K-dramas at all, then you have absolutely heard of the global epic Mr. Sunshine. It's this huge, sweeping story about love, rebellion, and loss. But today, we're going to peel back the layers and get into the real history, the stuff that actually sparked the whole idea for the show. So let's dive into the story behind the story.
First off, you've got to understand, this show has some serious pedigree. It comes from the powerhouse duo of writer Kim Eun-suk and director Lee Eung-buk. I mean, this is the team that gave us monster hits like Goblin and The Glory. In Korea, they're literally called the must-watch combo, and yeah, with Mr. Sunshine, they definitely delivered.
So you look past the stunning visuals, the incredible acting, the romance that just rips your heart out, and you have to wonder, what was the real thing? What piece of actual history was big enough to build a story like this on?
Well, the answer is kind of shocking, honestly. This entire massive 24-episode drama, with all of its intricate plots and characters, it was all inspired by just a single photograph that was pretty much lost to history.
You see, when the creators saw this image, they felt like they had a mission. They wanted to pull the story of Korea's forgotten heroes out of the dusty pages of history and into the spotlight.
So what was in the photo? It was a picture of the Yubyung, which translates to the righteous armies. Now, these weren't professional soldiers at all. We're talking about ordinary people, farmers, teachers, merchants, who picked up whatever weapons they could find to fight for their country against impossible odds. And the thing is, their stories were almost completely unrecorded. This quote from the show's production team just says it all, doesn't it? Their goal wasn't just to make a hit TV show. It was an act of remembrance. They literally wanted to write these nameless heroes back into their nation's story.
Now, to really get why these righteous armies were so important, we have to understand the world they were living in. The drama is set during one of the most chaotic, painful, and transformative periods in all of Korean history.
This era, the late 1800s and early 1900s, was just relentless. It really kicked off with violent clashes with foreign powers, like the US in 1871. Then, just a few years later, Joseon is forced to open its ports, and suddenly there's this flood of outside influence. It all keeps escalating until 1905, when Japan makes Korea a protectorate, basically ending its independence. And that's when the righteous army's resistance explodes.
You know, the show's own planning documents really nail the feeling of the time. They described it as this weird, confusing mix of romance, as Western culture started to seep in, modernity, with all this new technology, and of course, a deep, profound period of loss as their nation was being taken from them.
And the capital city, Hansong, what we now call Seoul, was ground zero for this collision of worlds. Just try to picture it. Seeing electric streetlights for the very first time, smelling coffee brewing, and then seeing foreign soldiers in modern uniforms walking down the same street as scholars in traditional robes. The entire world was changing, and for many, it felt like it was being torn apart.
And it's out of this fire, this crucible of change, that the show creates its amazing characters. Because they aren't just made-up people, they're basically living, breathing symbols of all the different conflicts and social classes of that time.
Each character represents a piece of this puzzle. You've got Eugene Choi, born into slavery, who escapes and comes back as an American military officer, a man who doesn't belong anywhere. Then there's Go Yi-shin, a high-born noblewoman who's secretly a sniper for the resistance. You also have characters like Gu Dong-mei, an outcast from the lowest class, and Kim Hoo-hee-sung, whose family is benefiting from the occupation. They all show that in a time like this, loyalty and survival were never, ever simple.
And that brings us to the show's real legacy. Because Mr. Sunshine was more than just a hit drama. It had a powerful and actually measurable impact on historical awareness in Korea today.
Okay, think about this for a second. The final, super emotional episode airs. Millions of people are watching. Right after it ends, what do you think was the #1 thing people were searching for online, across the entire country?
The answer was Uibyung, the righteous armies. A term, a piece of history that had been largely forgotten by the general public, was suddenly the #1 topic of national conversation. The show didn't just tell a story, it made people remember. Its mission was a success.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. Mr. Sunshine is proof that a really powerful story can reach back in time, grab a piece of forgotten history, and make it feel immediate and important all over again. So the real question is, what other nameless heroes, what other lost histories are still out there just waiting for someone to tell their story?